On the stage of business, there are some people who come from prestigious families, have the halo of top universities and strong family backgrounds, and start from the winning line. However, Sam Zell is completely different. He comes from a Polish immigrant family and was penniless when he first arrived in the United States, with no advantages at all. But it is such a person who has forged ahead in the business world, created his own legend, and stood side by side with those business elites born with a silver spoon in their mouths, even more dazzling. Sam Zell was born in 1941. His parents fled to the United States to escape Nazi persecution. At that time, they were almost penniless and their life was full of hardships. Growing up in such an environment, Zell understood the difficulty of life from a young age. But it was precisely this hard life that cultivated his tenacious character and sharp insight into opportunities. When he was a child, he found that Playboy magazine was hard to come by in the suburbs, and his classmates were very curious about it. Ordinary children might just think about it, but Zell saw a business opportunity. He bought the magazines at a low price from his friends and sold them to other classmates at a high price, easily making a profit. This small experience made him feel the charm of business for the first time and also stimulated his inner business potential. As he grew older, Zell encountered an important opportunity in his life, managing student apartments. At that time, a real estate developer was building student apartments. When Zell learned about it, although he had no management experience, he made a brochure and sold his management plan to the owner with his courage and sharp sense of opportunity. Surprisingly, the owner was moved by his sincerity and determination and entrusted the apartment to him for management. Zell knew that to make the apartment stand out, he had to meet the needs of students. So, he and his classmates carefully renovated the apartment. They removed the outdated furniture and decorated it in the popular Scandinavian style among young people at that time, and also purchased modern and fashionable furniture. After the renovation, the apartment was completely transformed and quickly became the object of competition among students. Zell not only earned a stable income but also accumulated valuable real estate management experience. This success made him even more convinced that as long as he dared to try and was good at seizing opportunities, he could succeed in the business field. After graduating from university, Zell faced a career choice. Unlike most people, he did not choose a stable job but decided to go to law school for further study. This choice seemed contrary to his interest in real estate, but Zell had his own considerations. He believed that studying law could not only provide a guarantee for his future but also help him handle real estate-related legal affairs better. During his time in law school, he did not forget his real estate dream. He used his savings and loans to purchase his first apartment building. After renovation, the rent doubled and the income continued to increase. He used these earnings to purchase more apartment buildings and also signed management contracts with Eastern Michigan University. By the time he graduated in 1966, he had already made a name for himself in the real estate field and accumulated a considerable fortune. After graduation, Zell devoted himself entirely to the real estate industry. He discovered that the real estate market around small city universities in the United States had huge potential. So, he raised funds from 20 investors, including his father, to build a large apartment building near the University of Toledo. He carefully calculated the investment return, expecting a minimum return rate of 8% and a maximum of 19%. After the apartment was completed and renovated by him, it was deeply loved by students, and the assets quickly generated cash flow, achieving a high return of 20% within a year. This success made him famous in the local real estate industry and attracted the attention of more investors. His business empire also continued to expand. In the 1970s, real estate investment trusts, REITs, emerged, and Zell keenly seized this trend and plunged into it. With his experience and wisdom in the real estate sector, he built a vast portfolio of residential and commercial real estate investments, amassing a huge fortune. However, just as his career was booming, a crisis quietly descended. During the acquisition of a high-rise hotel in Nevada, his brother-in-law, who was in charge of taxes, was investigated for tax fraud, and Zell was also implicated and sued. Although he was ultimately not convicted, this incident had a significant negative impact on his reputation and financing. Facing the crisis, Zell demonstrated extraordinary courage and wisdom. He keenly perceived that the real estate market was already oversaturated. Despite the market's apparent prosperity at the time, with high occupancy rates and active corporate hiring, he firmly believed that a change was imminent. Thus, he decisively stopped purchasing properties. This decision caused a stir at the time, with many people not understanding his actions and believing he had missed a good opportunity to make money. However, Zell was not swayed by external voices and firmly believed in his judgment. Sure enough, shortly after, the real estate market collapsed, and many investors suffered heavy losses, while Zell seized the opportunity to acquire a large number of distressed assets with a $1 down payment. These assets appreciated significantly when the market recovered, and he not only recouped his losses but also achieved further wealth growth. After weathering the crisis, Zell continued to delve into the real estate sector while also turning his attention to corporate acquisitions. In the 1980s, a wave of corporate acquisitions emerged, and he leveraged the capital and experience he had accumulated in real estate to join in. In 1983, he set his sights on ITIL, a company in distress. This leasing company owned a large number of assets such as aircraft, train carriages, and containers, but was in trouble due to poor management. After purchasing 5% of the company's shares, Zell requested to join the board of directors but was rejected. However, he did not back down. Instead, he increased his shareholding to 22% and launched a hostile takeover. After a year of intense struggle, he successfully took over the company and became the chairman and CEO. After taking over ITIL, Zell quickly reformed the company. He cut costs, sold underperforming departments, and reduced redundant staff. At the same time, he deeply analyzed the company's business and discovered that the railway vehicle leasing business had great potential. At that time, the U.S. railway vehicle industry had experienced overexpansion and a subsequent bubble burst, resulting in a large number of rail cars being scrapped, while demand remained stable and supply decreased. Zell judged that the supply and demand relationship was about to change, and the price of rail cars would rise. Thus, he acquired a large number of rail cars. His decision proved correct, and the company gained an advantage in the railway vehicle leasing market, with revenue increasing significantly. As ITIL's business stabilized, Zell began to seek diversification. In 1987, he acquired Annexter Brothers, a wire and cable distribution company. This decision was contrary to his previous investment philosophy and carried significant risks, but he was optimistic about its global expansion potential. Leveraging the stable cash flow from ITIL's railway vehicle leasing business, he pushed for Annexter Brothers' global expansion. Annexter Brothers rapidly developed and became the fastest-growing department of ITIL, generating nearly $1 billion in annual revenue by 1992. Subsequently, Zell sold the railway vehicle business, cashing out $2.3 billion and further optimizing the company's business structure. In the 1990s, Zell once again made a move in the real estate investment trust (REIT) sector. At that time, the real estate market was characterized by opaque information and poor asset liquidity. Zell pushed for REITs to go public, packaging high-quality office building assets to make them transparent and predictable liquid assets. In 1997, after acquiring a large number of high-quality office buildings, he successfully raised $3 billion. When his REIT went public, it owned over 32 million square feet of commercial office space, becoming one of the largest real estate portfolios in the world. With stable cash flow and high dividends, equity office properties became a hot stock, further solidifying Zell's position in the real estate industry. However, in 2006, Zell's decision to acquire Tribune Company suffered a major setback. Tribune was a large media group that owned several well-known media outlets such as the Chicago Tribune and the Los Angeles Times. But due to the impact of the internet, the news industry was undergoing a difficult transformation. Zell believed these media brands had long-term value and proposed a leveraged buyout to take the company private. He planned to cut costs and invest in growth opportunities, but when he took over, the 2008 financial crisis broke out and the advertising market collapsed. Tribune eventually went bankrupt, and Zell lost $300 million. Despite the failure, 80-year-old Zell refused to retire. He believed the risk-reward ratio of the Tribune acquisition was appropriate and had no regrets about his decision. He remains active in the business world, constantly seeking new investment opportunities. Sam Zell's business career is a grand epic of struggle. He has proven with his actions that the gears of fate are in his own hands. No matter how ordinary one's background is, as long as one has a firm belief, sharp insight, and fearless courage, one can ride the waves in the ocean of business and reach the shore of success. In his story, we see countless times of breaking through and rebirth. The crisis in the real estate market did not defeat him. Instead, it became a stepping stone for his rise. The difficulties and obstacles in corporate acquisitions did not make him retreat. Instead, they forged a stronger business empire for him. Every decision and every struggle of his shines with the light of wisdom and courage. Friends, life is like a war without smoke, and the business world is even more so. We will encounter setbacks and face failures, but this is by no means a reason to give up. Sam Zell refused to retire at the age of 80 and continued to gallop in the business world. What excuse do we have to stop our forward steps? Let's take him as an example, ignite our dreams with passion, and bravely pursue our business ideals in this era full of infinite possibilities.